Today, Nate Diaz has defeated Jorge Masvidal in a fight that none of us were really checking for, but now that it's happened, eh, eh. Also, what about Izzy versus Dricus du Plessis and their press conference? Was it alright? Was it okay? Was it passable? And Rose Namajunas steps in the octagon this Saturday night against her replacement fighter, Tracy Cortez. Let's hope that Brian Ortega is not lurking. Nevertheless, we will cover all of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt. We here to go over a couple of the current topics, a little bit of MMA news, and we're also going to go over Thug Rose Namajunas stepping in the octagon with Tracy Cortez and that card, which I believe goes down in Denver, this Saturday night. So, at the top, let's start out with Nate Diaz defeats via decision Jorge Masvidal in a boxing match over the weekend. Here's the thing, man. This wasn't a fight that I was looking forward to. I mean, I spoke about this fight a few times over the last few months. Wasn't anything I was really checking for. I didn't really enjoy any of the build up as far as the press conferences or anything like that, because pretty much at this point, Nate Diaz is just not going to engage in fight build up. Like, he just doesn't really do it. I don't think any of these guys really intrigue him at all. I think if you put him in there in a build for a fight against Conor, I think Conor's the type of guy that could bring that out of Nate. But outside of that, bro, Nate's not really tripping on hyping up a fight with Jake Paul, hyping up a fight with Jorge Masvidal, or anyone like that. He's just not going to play along with it. So you kind of get, boring sound bites. He walks out of interviews, press conferences, so on and so forth, because he's not really worried about it. At this stage in his life, at this point in his career, I think Nate is 39. He's pretty much like, bro, just cut me the check and I'll be there on that day. You know what I'm saying? You can't really hate on him for that. But at the same time, it does really make for a good fight build. So nevertheless, I wasn't really looking forward to this. It just is what it is. The fight happened. It wasn't all around like boring fight at all. I didn't watch it live. I watched clips of it. But, it just kind of is what it is when these two guys stepped in the octagon. I feel like both of them are, I'm sorry, not the octagon, but in the boxing ring. I feel like both of them are just so far out of their prime that, promotion-wise, as well as, fight ability-wise, it just wasn't really there. So nevertheless, Nate does go out there. He gets the win. Masvidal was not happy about that. He felt like it might have been a little home cooking because the fight did at least take place in California. Not in Stockton, but in California. But nevertheless, that fight happened. We'll see where it goes from there. Conor McGregor made a couple of headlines because he placed a bet on Nate Diaz. But it was actually through a betting site or betting company, which, 9 times out of 10, I think Conor already works with them. So that was probably more of a promotion tactic. But nevertheless, man, Nate gets the win. He moves on. He did look like he took this fight way more serious than the Jake Paul fight, and he seemed like he came in better shape. Jorge Masvidal didn't look like he was in good shape at all, but he did go out there and, he did throw some shots. Jorge wasn't playing, but it just wasn't like what it could have been, earlier in both men's career. So that was that. Let's move on. We also had a press conference that went down last week that was kind of like, not a lot of people really knew about it. I didn't know about it till it was actually going on between Dricus du Plessis, the middleweight champion, and Israel Adesanya, the former middleweight champion. They actually had a press conference there in Australia. I'm not sure if it was in Perth, but it was definitely in Australia. And, I mean, it didn't really provide you with a ton of sound bites or a ton of moments where you're like, oh man, look at this. But at the same time, it was it wasn't, it wasn't the big press conference that we're going to see as we get closer to the fight. Of course, fight week with Dana White there. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really too amped up. It wasn't really too revved up. Both men kind of took a couple of shots at each other, but it wasn't really anything major. It wasn't really anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So, not a whole lot to say there. The stare down was interesting because you had both men like almost touching noses, staring at each other for a long time. That got a little intense and got a little weird towards the end, but kind of is what it is. Like I said, I mean, they brought up, what originally caused the rift between these two men, and, there wasn't really a whole lot made over that either. I will say that basically both men went into this very professional. This was a very professional early before fight camp press conference. And that's what I would label that as. Not a whole lot to take from it. And, we'll just have to wait till they get to the real press conference, which is going to be fight week. That's when I think, both men are, about to start cutting weight, and tension is high. They've gone through an entire fight camp. You've studied this guy backwards and forwards. You've thought about everything that they said that pissed you off originally. And so now, here it is. We're here. We're now at a press conference with Dana White. We now have numerous fans. Everyone amping us up. We're going to say some stuff. But nevertheless, it is what it is. Let's move on from there. And we're going to pivot into what is this Saturday's card, in which was originally Thug Rose, Namajunas stepping in there with Macy Barber. Macy Barber had to pull out due to illness. So in return, we are now getting Thug Rose, Namajunas against Tracy Cortez in the main event. So let's start out with that main event as I'm pulling it up right now. So with that, man, I of course I got to go along with Thug Rose. I think that at times we all kind of confuse this portion of this point of Rose Namajunas' career. Like, she's still not going out there and doing her thing against a lot of these women. She's changed divisions, of course. She now fights at flyweight. But I think that we're all kind of looking at it like Thug Rose is still not that woman. You know what I'm talking about? But the reality of it is, man, is she had that weird performance against Carla Esparza. That was strange, in which, she lost her title in that. And it's just been really a weird go after that for Thug Rose. She had the fight with Manon Fiorot that, she had dislocated her pinky finger in that fight. It really threw off her ability to be able to make a fist, I believe, with her right hand. And she still was doing her thing with her footwork and sticking Fiorot with her opposite hand. But it wasn't a good performance. She took an L in that fight. She bounces back. Let me take a look at that fight after that. So she bounces back against Amanda Ribas, which is, that was smooth. I thought she would be able to do a lot better against Amanda Ribas, but still, Thug Rose went out there. She redeemed herself, for the most part, did her thing. Now she's stepping in there with a woman that I just feel like, no disrespect to Tracy Cortez, but I feel like there's levels to this, and Thug Rose is still a level, if not multiple levels higher than Tracy Cortez. So I got Thug Rose in this, as well as it's short notice for Tracy Cortez. So I got to go along with Thug Rose to go out there and get the win. It remains to be seen if it's going to be a dominant win, which I think that's kind of where we all get a little tricky about Thug Rose, because you want to see that dominant competitor that we saw back in the day at 115 against like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, people like that. But I'm not sure if Rose is going to go there unless we're talking about a major title fight. So we will see how it all plays out. But either way, I got Thug Rose to go out there and get the win. Let's move on. In the co-main event, we have Drew Dober stepping in there with Mike Davis. Now, this should be a battle. Mike Davis showed us in his last fight that if he has to, he will grapple, he will wrestle, he will do his thing. He's not really worried about just going out there striking and knocking guys out, knocking them into next Tuesday, maybe next Friday. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, Mike Brown is that dude, bro. I'm sorry, Mike Davis. Mike Davis is that dude. Straight up and down, he is that dude. He's only been marred by tons of injuries and things like that have been keeping him out of the octagon. Now, Drew Dober can crack. Drew Dober is game. You know what I'm saying? Dober will go in there. He will lay some hands if he has to. So with that being said, I think this fight is going to be fireworks. I think there's going to be a lot of striking between these two men. I think there will be some grappling, some scrambles, but I don't think this is primarily going to be a wrestling battle. So, in my opinion, it is going to be a strike fest. And I got to go along with Mike Davis to go out there and get the win. I just think Mike Davis is a more talented fighter. I think he's more talented on all levels, in the grappling department, in the wrestling department, and standing up. Not to say that, Drew Dober is no slouch, but I got to go along with Mike Davis to go out there and get the win, because I really feel like he would be way further in his career if it wasn't for all of the injuries. So I'm going along with Mike Davis. Let's move on. Next we have Santiago Ponzinibbio stepping in there with Muslim Saldikov, I should say. Man, I'm going to go along with Saldikov to get the win. I know, he's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak right now, but Pons, this just, shout out to Pons. He's still gotten some wins after he took his hiatus from, he had a lot of really, really serious illness, serious viral issues going on that, he was on, as I understand it, I'm not going to report it as fact, but from what I understood, he was on death's door, you know what I'm saying? He was knocking on the door and still made it out of that. So, nevertheless, this ain't Pons like when he was really making that rise to the top. He was on a huge fight win streak and everything. This is a different Pons. With that being said, I'm actually going to go along with Saldikov to go out there and get the win. I mean, I know he's lost his last 2 fights, but I feel like he's still an all-around solid competitor. And I think that, Ponzinibbio is just very streaky at this point in his career. You know what I'm saying? He just did not look good out there against Kevin Holland. He took a beating, and he's taken quite a few beatings. You know what I'm saying? Homie is taking quite a few beatings, and, I don't know, man. I just don't think he's that same fighter. I just don't think he's the same dude. I know he went out there, he beat Morono. I didn't really feel like he was gonna beat him, but he did. That was kind of shocking, but, that was Morono's fight to lose, in my opinion. I know it was kind of a short notice deal and all of that, but I just don't think Pons is that dude anymore at all. So I'm actually going to go along with Muslim to go out there and get the bounce back win, snap his 2-fight losing streak, and we'll see where he goes from there. Both men coming off a loss, of course. Ponzinibbio coming off a loss to Kevin Holland, which is major, but man, I'm going along with Saldikov to go out there and get the win. Next, we have Gabriel Bonfim stepping in the octagon with Ange Loosa. Man, I got Bonfim straight up. I think Bonfim is an all-around better fighter. I think he's a more talented fighter. He cracks. He does his thing. I'm going along with Bonfim to go out there and get the win. Next, we have Julian Erosa, Juicy J, stepping in there with Christian Rodriguez. I got Christian Rodriguez. That's no shock there. I know Juicy J is coming off a win. He just had a child. He's out there. He's doing his thing. He's trying to get these checks. But, man, Christian Rodriguez is still going out there and proving people wrong. And, his biggest drawback is his issues on the scale. His fight with the scale, that's sometimey. He'll take an L to the scale. But as far as men in the octagon, bro, homie goes out there and he does work. He generally has a solid game plan. He sticks to it. If he has to deviate from that, he usually finds a way to get a win. He's the type of fighter I would say finds a way to gets the win. So Man, I'm going along with Christian Rodriguez. I mean, things get tricky on the ground with Julian Erosa, I feel, but I think Christian Rodriguez is a better grappler, better wrestler, better top pressure. You know, and he's not scared to just lay on bottom for a whole round, use tricky elbows, sneaky elbows from the bottom, try to lock up a few submissions if possible, but then he generally goes back out there in the very next round and is able to implement his game plan. So I'm going to go along with him to go out there and get the win. So Christian Rodriguez is going to take it, in my opinion, in my humble, matter of fact MMA opinion. Let's move on. We got Abdul Razak Hassan stepping in there with Cody Brundage. I'm actually going to go along with Cody Brundage to get the win. I mean, he took an L in his last fight, but what do you expect? He was fighting Bo Nickel. What do you expect? What do you want from the man? He's just a mere man, okay? He's just a mere man. What do you want from him? He's fighting Bo Nickel, all right? What do you want from him, all right? Anyway, I gotta go along with Cody Brundage to get the win. I've never been super impressed with Abdul. To be honest with you, he cracks. He packs dynamite in his fist. You know what I'm saying? He got C4 in his fist. He's got all types of explosives. You know what I'm saying? Plastic explosives in his fist. You know what I'm talking about? But all of that aside, I got Cody Brundage to go out there and get the win. I've never been super impressed with Abdul, so I'm going along with Cody Brundage. Let's move on. We have Vivian Araujo stepping back in the octagon off of a little bit of a hiatus, stepping in there against Jasmine Jazz DeVicious. So I'm actually going to go along with Jazz DeVicious to go out there and get the win. I know she's coming off of a decent performance against Cachoeira, which, I mean, Cachoeira is just a weird fighter. You know what I'm saying? When she ain't cheating, she cheating. You know what I'm saying? She gonna cheat on the scale. She gonna fish hook you. She gonna gouge the eyes. So with that being said, shout out to Jasmine. She still went out there. She got the win. Vivian Araujo, she's like very sometimey. You know what I'm saying? Very unreliable. So you never really know when she's going to go out there and put on a good show or have a good performance and when she won't. But for the most time, she won't. So I'm going along with Jasmine Jazz the Vicious to get the win there. Next, we have Luana Santos stepping in there against Mariah Akapova. I'm going to go along with Luana Santos to get the win. I think Akapova is decent, but, I think Luana takes it to the ground one way or the other, and she submits Akapova. So I'm going along with Luana to get the win. And then the first fight of the night, we are looking at Josh Fram stepping in there with Andre Petroski. I'm actually going to go along with Petroski. Petroski's another one of these guys that's unreliable. I know he's coming off of a loss to Malkoun, but at the same time, I think Petroski is a little bit better than Josh Fram. Petroski will go out there. He will, of course, wrestle. He's going to go out there. He's going to wrestle. He's going to grapple. He's going to try to hold his opponent down. At times, in my opinion, he's the type of fighter that gasses out pretty easily and then just runs on fumes and heart, just a steady diet of fumes and heart for the rest of the fight. And sometimes that has seen him go through to a decision and get the win. I feel like he's coming off a loss. I think he's going to go out there. He's going to be revved up. He's going to be amped up. And I think he's going to go out there with something to prove. So there is a good chance by the end of the second round he's going to be completely gassed, and Josh might be able to go out there and have his way with him at the beginning of the third and go out there and get the win. So if Josh wins, I think it'll be early in the third once Petroski is gassed out. But otherwise, I think Petroski can go out there, keep wrestling him, keep holding him down, and cruise to a decision. So that is UFC Namajunas versus Cortez. Again, let us hope Brian Ortega is not lurking in the crowd, trying to give a little voodoo that he do against Tracy Cortez. But nevertheless, man, I'm just joking. I don't see it happening. I got Rose Namajunas to go out there and get the win. I believe this show is going down at Ball Arena in Denver. I believe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this fight is because it looked like it's an Apex card. I don't know if it's in the Apex. I believe it's in Denver. I could be wrong. Nevertheless, man, that's what it is. And I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Forgot the hand. As I drop my phone. Terrible way to end this video. Peace.